Hello once again. This is Dr. Tucker. We're again talking about egoism. Today we want to talk about the application of egoism. The principle of egoism is that a person should do that which is in their long-term best self-interest. Now, even if the philosophy of egoism doesn't appeal to you, the principle of egoism is still a very helpful one and one that we use all of the time. Let me give you an example. A scolding, if you will. Have you ever heard someone argue like this? Why do you want to be your own worst enemy? You've done that before. You know what's going to happen if you do that. Why do you want to hurt yourself? Think about it. Where do you want to be in 5 years? How can you get there? If you do this, you're going to end up in a place you don't want to be. That's basically egoism. Egoism is the idea that we should do the thing that is in our long-term best self-interest. Now, the application of egoism is actually pretty straightforward. It's easy. It only has a few steps, but there's a catch. There's something that makes it more difficult, and that is you have to be able to predict the outcome. Have you ever been in a situation where you thought to yourself, and you thought it through, and you put it down on a piece of paper, and you studied it out, these are my options, this is what's going to happen if I take these options, and you picked the best one, and it ended up very different from what you thought it was going to be when you started? That's part of the problems, but we do the best we can. So in the case of Karina has been working at this company. It's a chemical company, and she finds out that they are dumping toxic waste. They're dumping toxic waste in a in a rock quarry that's close to a reservoir, and she's afraid that it could get into the water supply, and this is a bad situation. So what should she do? Well, the first thing she's going to do if she applies egoism is think through what are all of her options. So she starts with the first one. She could stay quiet. The second option might be that she could talk to her uncle, who's a reporter, and he could use this as a story and expose the entire situation. Or she could anonymously report to another newspaper or maybe the authorities. And in this case, the authorities would probably be the EPA. Finally, something that she could do is she could simply go to her boss and hope that her boss is going to care enough to change the situation. The second step in applying egoism is to ask, what are the likely consequences of these various options? What is my best prediction of what will happen? If she stays quiet, I think it's pretty clear that the situation is going to get worse. Is it possible somebody could find out she knew about it and didn't do anything about it? How is this going to affect her own relationships? Could she be charged as an accessory after the fact? The second option, she could go to her uncle. This will probably make her uncle's career. This is a really good story. He will get it as broadly published as possible, but what will be the consequences? Very possibly the company will have a problem that they can't handle, and it might end up in bankruptcy, and she and her colleagues may lose their jobs. It's a very possible outcome. What if she went to the EPA? Well, the question there is, will they have enough information to be able to actually address the problem and make sure that it stops? Don't know. The fourth option, if she goes to her boss, what's likely to happen? If she goes to her boss and her boss is receptive to the idea and he starts an internal investigation and they solve the problem on their own and they turn themselves voluntarily over to the EPA, this could be the very best possible outcome for the company. But if he, like the other supervisor she's already talked to, doesn't want anything to do with it and wants to bury the story and tries to silence her by whatever means necessary, this could be a very bad option. So which is the best option? When we look at these options, maybe we'll choose number 4, go to her boss. But how sure are we of those outcomes? You can never be completely sure, but you choose the best option for the long-term interests of the person involved. Thank you.